a nuclear power
mad about
plant,
this.
like a couple of towns over from me in a town called Peterborough. A warning had went out saying that something had gone wrong at the nuclear plant, and basically cover your ass. And 2 hours later, another one went out and said, "Sorry, it's fine. That wasn't supposed to go out." When that text came out, I was sleeping, and it woke me up, and I looked over at the message. I'm like, I just put my phone back down, went back to sleep. It was one of the best 2-hour snoozes I've ever had in my life.
But it did prove, in those 2 hours, there was absolutely no government response whatsoever. So
nothing happened at all.
Literally proved that if there were a failure at that plant, we're screwed. Like, the Canadian government doesn't have a plan, and even if they did, they wouldn't do anything about it anyway.
Yeah, well, if you've seen the HBO miniseries Chernobyl, it shows you what can happen and what will happen if there's a meltdown. If there's a meltdown, it's just game over for that area. I mean, they almost made all of Western Europe or Eastern Europe uninhabitable. They came within hours of a super meltdown.
But was Chernobyl was built from garbage. Like, Chernobyl was garbage when it opened, pretty much, is my understanding.
They cut a lot of corners, yes, and it sounds like your local plant may be cutting some corners, too.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me.
I think it's just personnel. I think we're cutting way too many corners on the people we're employing to look after these things.
That was part of the problem in Chernobyl. Yeah, the personnel, they were trying to cover up their mistakes, and every time they covered up a mistake, they made it worse.
Oh, I think our biggest mistake, and everyone who knows me knows this, I think the biggest mistake is just our politicians. I'm very against politicians because it's not an occupation. It's if you look at if you go to, like, the unemployment office and try to type in politician, it's not there. And it was never intended to be an occupation. And I like the experiment you guys did with Trump. I think it's backfired horribly.
Clearly,
not that we've done much better up here, but
I think here's what will make you both happy, is a virus that spreads around the world rapidly and that only kills politicians.
Oh, my God, it's such a fantasy.
Well, I think coronavirus is going to kill a few careers.
Now, Eric, I got to let you know, that asteroid you're talking about, it's actually in 2027. Now, here's the best thing about this, and this is how I know life might get better for me. This asteroid is actually the Jet Propulsion Laboratory was doing test runs on it and checking the trajectory, and they were hoping that they were going to be able to knock down, because it was at a level of around like a 60-something% chance that it was going to hit Earth. Well, after running their tests, it's now a 96% chance it's going to hit. And it's going to hit the day after my birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Gord.
So and guess where it's going to hit? It's going to hit right in the center of China and Beijing, North and South Korea, Japan. That whole area is going to, yep.
Did you get a diameter on that one yet?
Ironically enough, it's the only thing I know the size of the telescope, but I do not know the size of the actual asteroid. They haven't. Nowhere on here does it actually say that. So I was looking for them. Oh, here we go. The new size estimated between 200 and 280 meters. So that's actually close.
We just invested $114 million in Chinese oil. I really don't want them wiped off the planet in 4 years.
I'm fine with that.
That's our pension money, Gord. That's our pension money's over there.
Oh, come on. Like, we're going to see that anyways. Like, I mean, come on. Canada's known for screwing us over for that. It doesn't matter. It's what we're good at.
So where are you guys located? You said you're in Ontario?
I'm Southern Ontario. I'm about less than an hour's drive west of downtown Toronto. And Eric is all the way out the coast in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia.
I am indeed. And
I visit Ontario once a year. I go fishing north of Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota originally, so I go up into Ontario, do a little walleye fishing.
Do you have like a favorite lake or area
Lake of the Woods, yeah, and also I've done fly-in lakes also, too. Sometimes they don't even have a name because there's so many lakes.
Yep. Oh, that's amazing. I've buddy and I were actually planning on doing that. We're going to do the fly-in to a cabin. It's nestled on, I think, 5 lakes, all within like a hour's walk from every sort of direction. A whole bunch of lakes, and there's a muskie sanctuary up around that area too. So we were going to go up and do that, but he died. So
you're talking my language. I love it. It's so beautiful up there.
Oh, it's gorgeous. One thing I enjoyed. I lived in BC for 5 years. And one thing I always enjoyed about telling people in BC is you guys have a really beautiful province. It's really nice, but you have no idea where true beauty is till you see Northern Ontario in the fall.
Yeah, and a 48-inch muskie.
Exactly. Tugging on that line like it's the last thing you're ever going to eat. Oh, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
Uh-huh.
I should probably spend some time there one of these days.
But before the asteroid hits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So before the asteroid hits, what's the plan for the next movie? Do we have one?
Oh, yeah, it's always such a hard question because after making The Truth About Marriage, it's like after giving birth, the last thing I want to do is think about getting pregnant again.
I guess so.
But yet,
if it's not Trekkies 3, I might, and if enough people go out and see or rent or view The Truth About Marriage, maybe I'll do The Truth About Gay Marriage next.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I barely scratched the surface in The Truth About Marriage, and it certainly is a rich enough arena that of stories and interesting stories that it could be its own documentary.
Well, where can people see The Truth About Marriage? We should have plugged that right off the top, and I didn't because I'm a terrible host.
You can just go to my website, thetruthaboutmarriage.com, and that'll lead you to where you need to go, Amazon or iTunes. And I wrote a book, a companion book, also that's by the same name, The Truth About Marriage.
I did actually start reading it.
Is that the thing? Like, should you actually have the book while you're watching the movie and go through it together? Is that the sort, or is it like a workbook for after?
Here's what happened. I was at a screening at a film festival at the premiere in Orlando, Florida, and I noticed in the audience where there was a woman who had a notepad and she was scribbling furiously as she's watching the movie. And so during the Q&A, I asked her, I said, what's going on? What's with all the writing? And she said, I was taking notes because my girlfriend, she couldn't be here for the screening and she needs to get a boyfriend. And so she had to get all the information down. I said, well, look, I'm going to do you a favor. I'll do it for you. And so the book was, I coalesced all the advice and because what I set out to do, here was my goal. I wanted to find out why is it so hard? Why are relationships so hard for people? Once I discovered that, and the first half of the documentary sort of lays that out, and similarly in the book, the second half of the book and the second half of the documentary is solutions. I wanted to find what are some very simple things anyone can do, like relationship hacks, to make things go better. Because no one teaches you these things. And I realized all of these psychologists had the same advice for the most part. And so I condensed it down into easy to understand, here's what you need to do. And because here's one of the big problems that we face. Men and women, or I usually like to talk in terms of masculine and feminine because we all have a percentage of both within us, but obviously men have more masculine and women have more feminine. You assume that your partner needs the same thing you need, and so that's what you give your partner. You give them what you're desiring, but they don't. They need something different. The masculine and the feminine need different things from each other. We're different. It's opposites attract for a reason. We're meant to complete each other.
Writing this down. 1 sec here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, get the book. It's all in the book. We're meant to complete each other, not duplicate each other. And if I can teach you guys one thing for your next relationship, it's kind of a manipulation, but it works. And it costs very little, and you can experiment with your next girlfriend or your current girlfriend. Try this as an experiment. 15 to 20 minutes a night, go home and just ask her, take your cell phone and put it on airplane mode and say, honey, how was your day? How are you feeling about your day? And then shut up Don't offer solutions. Don't give her any suggestions. Don't solve any problems. Just listen, because it's counterintuitive that men typically want to solve problems and offer solutions, and we assume when she comes home and she starts talking about, oh, my boss was terrible, or whatever whatever emotions she's processing from the day, we immediately start coming up with solutions. Well, maybe you should quit, or maybe you should tell him off. And then she starts to think, well, you're accusing me of not doing what I should have done, and now I feel worse. And you're making it worse. It's like somebody asking for a consultation, but not wanting to hear your opinion. So,
you're pretty good at this one, aren't you, Gord? You do this pretty well in your current relationship. I can't do it because I just don't care.
You have to. You've got to force yourself, but only if you want to be happier. That's all.
Yeah. See, It's funny because I'm in the process of literally learning about this and trying to apply it. Because, well, I have a very hard time ever shutting my mouth ever for anything. Especially when somebody speaks to me, I always tend to overtalk. This is why Eric and I work so well, because we're both strong talkers. So I'm able to let him to sort of take over the conversation. But with my girlfriend, same thing. When she comes at me and she says something about, whether it's something that I've done wrong or something that's her life, my immediate reaction is always, I'll apologize for what I've done, or I will furiously state my case of why it is I think she's wrong. And then argument ensues, and I'm always so baffled by why it became such a huge argument. And literally what she said is exactly what you said, which is just let me get it off my chest and shut up.
Yes.
And I'm really struggling with that.
If you want to ask her a question, a good question to ask is, if it's something about what you've done, is just say, I can understand why you feel that way. Tell me, what can I do to help you feel better? And then again, shut up.
See, it's the shut up part that's so difficult, though.
You've got to practice it. It's not natural. But if you do that, she will be so much happier. She'll feel much more satisfied. There'll be more sex and better sex as a result for this little investment of time.
Oh, see, I can't
on board with that.
I'll have to listen to this. But I cannot. I mean, like, literally, it's so funny because, like, everything you said. Now, again, we both come from a broken marriage. Her marriage ended as well before, which is kind of why we're together, because both marriages ended. But that was a huge thing, is we've known each other for years, and we always had this amazing communication. She would speak, I would shut up, I would just listen. But for me, all that dynamic changed when we got into a relationship, not because we're in a relationship, but because instead of her being mad about somebody else, now all of a sudden she's mad about something I've done, and now I become defensive because it's, it's just a natural sort of reaction to be defensive when somebody says you've done wrong when you don't think you have.
That's the masculine reaction, is to litigate, to play back the tape. It shows that you said and what I said, and that won't get you back towards happiness. The only thing that'll get you to happiness is to just listen and empathize, and then she can move on, and then you can both move on and again get back to happiness.
Oh,
did you go into this documentary thinking you knew something, or did you take a lot away from it in terms of your own relationship?
Oh, I learned so much. I'm so much better prepared now and I was making all these mistakes and sabotaging my relationships because no one told me this. No one ever taught me this, how to just shut up. She doesn't want you to advise her. She just needs to offload for 15 to 20 minutes, and then she'll feel better. It's like a vitamin. She needs this vitamin from you. And if you don't give it to her, she's going to get frustrated over time and start to shut down. You're both going to be frustrated, and eventually the relationship will deteriorate. And if you want to stay together, this little exercise, and there's several other in the book and in the documentary, but that's one of the best exercises, the simple things, if you can do it, that will change the trajectory of your relationship dramatically.
I think I'm miles away from even attempting that, because I'm still at the part where I go into a relationship thinking I'm the most important part of it, and That's probably a bad way to look into it.